Hey wukdar. Well, I'm going to try a particular way of answering your video, which is I'm going to play it, but I'm not going to let you guys listen to it. I'm just going to play it because I do want to answer it all because I really like this video. I liked it a lot. And so the first part you talk about why you didn't make a video that was just a rant, and I really appreciate that. I think that's true. Now, like you said, it would just be good family fun as far as the internet's concerned. So if you'd chosen to do that, I wouldn't really hold it against you, but I think this is a much better choice. And this is a great video. The questions you've asked are great. I think you've broken through some of the semantics. I'll give you that you killed semantics, as a matter of fact, but just metaphorically, because in reality, this is the birth of semantics. This is us building a bridge, and maybe it's frustrating. The bridge falls down a couple times. We've never built a bridge like this before, or we don't have our plans together. But eventually we build this bridge, and the two of us know what terms, and maybe other people taking part can also know the terms. And even if they don't accept our terms, they'll know what we mean when we use them. You know, because I agree with you. I like to use simple terms. I have a lot of terms that I have simplified and made relativistic and turned into little tiny programs that run, like my definition of existence. I'm just naming, the condition of me receiving all these perceptions. And that's a good, clean definition of existence that we can understand. And my other use of existence, relies on that. But anyway, I appreciate that you did the video this way, and I think the result is really fucking fantastic. This is a great video. So you know what I mean? Okay, it's just a use of metaphor. I'm not saying it's compelling, but maybe it gives you a glimpse of what I'm saying. So it's fine. I know the semantics is annoying, but I just want to say that it's like building a bridge. It's also like once the bridge is built, it's easy to go across this bridge. We'll be able to trade all kinds of information. The economy, the virtual economy of our communication will increase. So that's the idea, and I think you've accomplished that. Okay, so I want to say why about the frames of reference. The frames of reference thing is, first of all, in physics, you have to have a frame of reference. That's the point of any measurement you've taken or anything, is it's from a particular frame of reference. Okay? From another frame of reference, it's distorted. You can figure out what the numbers would be in another frame of reference. If you specify that frame of reference, you can make those calculations. So that's one reason. And then the second reason is that that's at a very fundamental physical level. But at a high level of human interaction, we have also the fact that we are the subject, that we experience ourselves as a frame of reference, So that's the reason why. That's why I go with the frame of reference. Unlike regular relativity, that is, rare in the physical cases, this one's common in the physical, in the human cases. Relativity for human. Okay, what gives meaning? Really, I think human beings give meaning to things. But what gives meaning to these moral systems is that we recognize that we all want to survive. And this, again, we can access that pretty directly through our personal frame of reference, that we want to survive. Now, there's some people out there maybe don't want to survive. Fine. Let's just get together with the ones that want to survive and create a morality out of that. And I think that's fine. And that's what gives meaning and value to things as well. I think that's a good question because, as you said, then you have this kernel that is, hopefully fairly direct, not hard to convince people that they want to survive. And then there's values on top of that. In the United States of America and probably the world now, there's this idea that, okay, well, it can be the pursuit of survival will mean the pursuit of happiness. And then you go up, and you're right, at the outer level is this morality. And that's why a lot of the morality shouldn't be legislated. Because down below you have an ethics. And the ethics, should it be legislated? I don't know. Maybe, like a lawyer's ethics, just when there's a conflict, you use the ethics to help decide. And then below that, there's like legislated ideas. So I agree. At the very outer edge, we have morality encompassing it all. So I agree. The sentient beings give the meaning. You said that at length. I totally agree with that, and I think that's a very important point. And I'm sure this is something that leads to a lot of agreements between us, because a lot of people don't agree with that. I also totally approve of and believe this idea that, in the universe, anything goes. In nature, anything goes. Nature's attitude is, let's try it all. All the things, terrible things, the good things, let's try as many as we can. Okay, this issue of what can we extract these moral conclusions from is exactly what I've been trying to solve. I think you can't extract that from an objective view of morality, an objective view. You actually have to abstract that from survival of the subject, from the subject's self-interest, which happens to what can you find in common, which survival is the main thing you can find in common. Okay, so you're right, and if this was just a social contract idea, there would be these problems because you can't have a social contract for anything, including making slavery okay. Well, what relativism and subjectivism introduces on that is this idea of acknowledging everybody's right to survive, and not just survive, but to grow and prosper, or try to have a chance to pursue happiness. I don't think a slavery relationship is compatible with that, you see. So it's not just a social contract. It's also these other principles involved. And yet I can't deny that we never escape the social contract, because we have to negotiate and agree on which principles we're going to support. But you see, it does mean that we can't decide, hey, let's do this principle that all men are created equal, but have some of them be slaves. See, that doesn't work, because hypocrisy doesn't wash in relativism. Okay, now you've started your examples, and the 3 examples with the 3 planets. I would save the planet with the sentient life, and it would be a tragedy losing the planet with the plant life. But yes, I would decide that. But why? Well, I am a sentient being. I value the sentience. If I were a plant, then I would probably save the plant life, because the sentient beings are just going to be eating the plants, and the plants are like having to grow thorns and stuff. And obviously the plants on that planet already have some way to reproduce. They spread in the wind or something like this, so they don't need the sentient beings. Or maybe there's insects, and those aren't counted as sentient or whatever. But the thing is, the non-sentient creature is never going to have that chance. It's not quite fair, because if you ask the tree what to do, it won't answer. I'm not bound to answer on behalf of the tree, just because I can deduce that the tree might want to be the one to survive. I can go ahead and answer for myself. I can't say that it would be absolutely right to choose the sentient planet. I can say that that's what I would choose, and if you wonder why, well, it's because I am a sentient creature. I would tend to save those people. And since they're sentient also, maybe they'll repopulate the other planets and can do something about it. Okay, now on the example of the people very interesting example of people that live this miserable existence, I have a couple things to say. I hope you don't think I'm running around on this example. First of all, no, I wouldn't want to live that way. But you have created a really difficult situation. But really, if this was the perpetuation, then no, I wouldn't want to live that way. But I think there's some things that really don't work there, and I know it's just a thought experiment, so that's fine. So that's my answer, but without the caveats. And you could ignore the caveats. But the caveats are this. One, I don't really believe that. How can if creatures were to accept living that way, then they would have to think that was just the natural way of being, this state of torture. I find that very difficult. I think it more likely that people would stage some sort of a revolt in that situation, because either they would stage a revolt, or they would come to, like and embrace that kind of a lifestyle, which is very difficult for me to understand. But no, I wouldn't live that. I wouldn't want to live that way. I wouldn't want to revolt against the system like. Oh yeah, and more of the reason why I wouldn't live that way is because that does not comport with my belief in these human rights based on the right to survive, where survival is interpreted, as a healthy kind of empowering survival. That would be an oppressive kind of minimal survival. So I wouldn't want to live that way where it had to be exactly the same. However, I would want to live in that situation if you allow that there was some chance that it could be overcome, so that we could have, be free in the future. Now, if I'm the happy observer of this stuff that has my own happy life, except for the fact that I have to watch this torture, that would be psychological torture. So would that really be a happy existence? No, I'd have to do something about it. I'd have to try to stop it. And I think in that part of the example, I would have that freedom to try to stop it. I would not just live my life. I would be activist against it. Okay, maybe I missed something. There might have been more. Thought there was another example. But anyway, those are good examples. I think we are going to agree on most of this stuff. So the reason I'm clinging when we're discussing these fundamentals of philosophy to subjectivity and relativity is because, there's also the relativity and skepticism in my system. And the skepticism acknowledges our limits, and the relativity is actually how we get information anyway, because we can study these relationships. And I just think that works fundamentally in this picture of starting from a kernel of ideas and working out. We can derive the morality we want from the subjectivity, because that's where it seems to come from anyway, from these frames of reference, from me wanting to survive, a healthy, empowering life, and to allow other people to do that and to live free. I just think things derive up to this system, and the system is coherent. Otherwise, we work down to objectivity and we get stuck. Okay, so that's why it's more than terms to me. It is also concepts, but it's something true. I mean, in the sense that if somebody is going to do a moonshot, you're not going to see the relativistic terms. Their approach to the moonshot is going to be the same as a non-relative Newtonian thinker. And because the relativist is going to realize that the relative terms, while they exist, just aren't that significant to make a difference. So they're going to agree, all of these people will agree, hey, yeah, we can get to the moon. But when it comes time to say, well, why does Mercury have such a weird orbit? Only the relativists are going to be able to answer that. So the relativists can answer both things because at least they're consciously making an approximation. And I love nature, see? And I do take a lot of instruction from nature in general, like physics, but also, going into a forest and watching how it does and all the beauty. But I agree with you. It's not really moral. There's all kinds of horrible things. Animals eat the babies of other animals, and these are tragedies for those animals that lose their young. And it's not the kind of morality we're trying to build as humans. So anyway, yes, interesting video. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you in the future, I hope.